The Widow Lincoln is the 40 days and 40 nights following her husband's assassination. It takes us through the time when she has literally locked herself in a room in the White House, which is fact, and then asks what might have happened, because we don't know. There's very little written about what went on inside that room. Some of the characters in The Widow Lincoln, of course, Mary Lincoln is at the center of the play. Laura Keene is a character. Imagined characters include Queen Victoria, Mammy Sally, who was the slave that essentially was Mary's mother figure after her own mother died as a 7-year-old back in Lexington. There are also characters from the outside, from Washington. Elizabeth Keckley, of course, Mary's confidant, dressmaker, someone who did have, it seems as though Elizabeth Keckley did have complete access to Mary Lincoln during this time that the play takes place. There's also a wonderful historical character named Nettie Colburn, who was a young woman who was a medium, who was a spiritualist, which was a very fashionable thing in Washington and in New York in the 1860s. There is also a soldier in the play who has been stationed at the door. But that soldier is a character we follow through the play who ultimately is one of the most surprising relationships, I think, that Mary develops over the course of the play. Initially, I think the idea was going to be that it would be very head-on about the assassination itself. But as many people who will be watching this know, I wrote a play for Ford's in 2009 called The Heavens Are Hung in Black. 4 years of working on that particular play, I grew more and more intrigued with Mary Lincoln. So when the time came to talk about what this play might be, I proposed that I actually write a play about Mary that would still be focused on the assassination, and that in fact I found it more powerful that Lincoln is not a character in The Widow Lincoln, although he looms very large against the play. And I think for any audiences, obviously, who see a play at Ford's Theater, it's impossible not to think about Abraham Lincoln. So I felt in many ways the theater itself was doing that job for me, and I wanted to look at the assassination from another angle. And so really from the angle of the wife. What was it like for her in those days that followed the assassination? There are many people, historians, who argue that Mary was impossible. It runs the gamut, everything from mentally ill to mentally unstable to damaging to her husband's presidency. And I think that anyone who spends time reading her letters, for example, or just reading about the facts of her life, all of those things are really inarguable. I think it's a losing battle to try to change people's minds about those things that are so deeply ingrained into the mythos of who Mary Lincoln might have been. And instead, I'm more interested in why she might be the person that she is in my play, and certainly in this moment. And so just watching her go through the process, and hopefully as an audience member, experiencing that with her, and remembering that to the rest of the country it was President Lincoln, but to her it was her husband. Trying to explore that extremely intelligent, complex, politically savvy, outspoken, opinionated woman in Victorian America. And I think that that's another part of the context of who Mary Lincoln was as a woman in that time. What options were available to her, and what happens if your authentic self is in conflict with what culture of the time insists you must be. And that extends then to a widow as well. What was a Victorian widow? What was expected of her? Really what was expected was that you were to disappear. You were to go softly and quietly into the night move in with some relatives, and be in heavy mourning for a long period of time. And true to Mary Lincoln in many other facets of her life, she did it her own way. So I think anyone who wants to spend some time with the Lincoln story in a way they hadn't imagined, I invite them to come and spend a couple of hours with Mary Lincoln and the other women in this play.